And then the last bike we took out that day was the Tiger 900 GT Pro. That was, wasn't it? Because the Rally Pro demo bike that they had, which is the more off-roady version, that was yet to be registered. So we didn't really have a choice. But I think probably, the road-orientated version is the bike to choose anyway. But you were beaming. You loved that, didn't you?
I really did. I think it's also, when something surprises you, and it surprised me in just the right kind of way. And I know it was only town stuff. I did put out a review, and obviously it's a shame if you don't get a chance to take it out on some faster roads, and you ride what's available to you, don't you?
Of course.
I absolutely loved it. Yeah, just knocking around town. We went up towards Hyde Park kind of direction, and it was just so good on all those roads. The hardest thing was just not speeding, because it was just so tempting to do it, because that engine is, again, so good, which you went out on the proper demo day for the launch of it. But that is one of the best engines I've been on. And actually, when I was saying about taking out the jerkiness of the throttle, like the Street Triple does, the new version over the old, that one was like the next level of that, because you could be as brutal as you wanted with that throttle, and it just wasn't bouncing or hiccuping at all. It was happy to do whatever.
What do we play around with on the Tiger? I mean, the engine, that for sure it's good, and it sounds great as well. The dash is good, isn't it? That massive 7-inch dash.
Yeah, I think I've television smaller than that.
Are you a fan of TFTs, or do you prefer analogs?
I don't mind them. I quite like the illusion of an analog clock, but I can't deny that my eyes aren't as good as you're also a glasses wearer. I know you have the same sorts of pains, but there is something about big digital dash, big digital clock makes it a damn sight easier to see speed than the needles bouncing up and down, especially where London, where it's so heavily constricted and monitored. You don't want to speed anywhere. So it is nice having all of that information up on the screen. I think they do it one of the best, because there's a few that have been on, like the XADV, again, not to sort of hate on that bike, but it's a bit busy. There's quite a lot going on. It's all black and white. So it's hard to kind of differentiate the first time you get on it, what is what on the screen, whereas that screen is really easy at a glance to know what you're looking at. So I like it a lot.
And then also, we were talking on the day as well about how it doesn't actually feel that tall, because you were saying you thought maybe it's going to feel a bit too tall, a Tiger 900, just for pottering around town, but actually it wasn't. Well, I didn't think it was too bad anyway.
I thought it was actually, it felt marginally shorter than mine, I think, just because my seat's a bit wider maybe. And then there was the Scrambler that you went on as well. You sat on that and you were like, coming over a little sit on this afterwards, and I was tiptoeing it on one leg.
Yeah, the Scrambler 1200 is pretty tall, and it's got like a bit of a bench seat to it, so it does feel wide, and therefore it doesn't help with getting your feet down. I was just going to say, actually, for people who like a bit of TFT dash and an analog clock, the 1200 Scrambler and the Rocket have like a round one where you can flick between a digital readout, but also you can have a traditional speedo looking thing as well, which is quite cool. But yeah, that does feel like a big machine, the XE. It's definitely a tall bike, but I think the way they've done it with the Tiger and bikes like the Tenere, bikes like the Africa Twin, a lot of them in the updates for this year have been saying we've done work to narrow the bike at the waist. So that'll be a big change between, for example, if you rode the MT-07 and the Tenere, it's got a narrower waist. The Tiger's narrower versus last time, and same for the Africa Twin. And I think it's a smart way of maintaining ground clearance whilst also making it a bit easier to get your feet down for some people. And almost all of them as well have adjustable seats where you can clip them between the two positions.
I think on that kind of bike, it's kind of essential as well. When you know you're going to be playing with a taller bike and you don't want to count out some of your market who will be intimidated by that, it is important having it be adjustable. And then there's the other thing for it being quite tall, why it's the reason I quite like the fact that it tapers in, so it is tall, but then it doesn't feel so tall you can actually get your feet down, is because if you're doing longer distances, and to bring it back to my new bike, the CB 1300, I took that up to Wales recently, and it was absolutely fine everywhere waist up, and then my knees were just on the wrong angle for the wrong amount of time, that I was seized up by the time I got off the other end. You know that bit where you have to sort of starfish and stretch your legs out as you're coming into the lay-by? You're like, right, I need to start using these again. You don't need to do that with a big dad bike like the Africa Twin or the Tiger. That's the kind of benefit, and I can see the appeal to that, and I really wish I had a bike that didn't make my knees feel like I was a 70-year-old man when I come to stop it.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, isn't it? Being able to stick the seat in the high position if you're doing a long ride. So you just get a bit more space, and you're not going to be needing to put your legs down so much on the motorway, or you'd hope not. So yeah, I think it's a nice option to have. And then I think it just handles well, and I like the sort of the feeling in the cockpit of the Tiger and stuff. So I was glad you enjoyed it, because I think I talked it up quite a lot after the launch. So it's always good to hear a second opinion. And I know you wouldn't just say it was good to appease me, Tim.
No, I really wouldn't. I would be honest with you. I'll be brutally honest about the bike. The one question I've got, though, is what I sort of worry about is whether or not that is one of the better dad bikes or tourers adventure bikes, if that's setting me up with unrealistic expectations for the other one. You've ridden a few now. I'm interested to know whether or not you think how you sort of think it stacks up against some of its competition.
Oh, see, the thing is, I've not been on a GS for ages. So the only recent ones I've had, adventure bikes, would be I've got the Africa Twin Adventure Sport, just showed up today. So that's a big beast. But I had the kind of stock Africa Twin, the sort of base off-road model for a while. The Tiger 800 I rode recently. Oh, I've tried MV Agusta's Turismo Veloce with the one with the smart clutch system. So it's a recluse clutch, so it's not quite like the DCT on the Africa Twin or the Goldwing. It's just that you still use the quick shifter to go through the gears, and there's still a clutch lever, so you can use the clutch if you want. But when you come to a stop, the clutch just disengages itself, and then when you turn the throttle, it engages. A bit like a go-kart is the only thing that... I said that, and then the press guy from MV was stood next to me, and I could just see him. I was on camera. I was like, it's basically like a go-kart. And I saw him go like, oh. I think they're definitely a premium brand, I suppose. And I also think there's probably some technical reasons why it's superior to a go-kart, because essentially a go-kart engine amounts to a lawnmower.
Yes. So you basically just call this very expensive bike a lawnmower.
Exactly. But anyway, I've got off topic there. But you were asking me, how does the Tiger 900 genuinely stack up? It's up there for me. I think it will all come down to whether, if you're buying a middleweight adventure bike, whether you want a triple or not.
Yeah, and I do. What? So I guess the Tiger is the way to go then.
So like you've got the I think it's a parallel twin in the 790, a parallel twin in the 850 GS, V twin in the V85 TT, in the middleweight multi-stradas, a V twin as well. Yeah. Although the V4 has been spotted out testing, but I would say that's large capacity. Probably missing an obvious bike. Tenere, that's a parallel twin. So really, if you want a triple that off-roads, obviously the MV's discounted then, so it would be the Tiger. And I think it does give you that flexibility, and what you really want to do with it is like one of the days that we did in Morocco, which actually I'd argue are exactly what I would be doing if I owned one here, which is riding a good distance on the motorway or on and then onto some kind of bendy roads until you get to where you're going to off-road, and then you can off-road a bit, and then you can come back and go on the twisties, because it's a triple is quite smooth. It felt pretty smooth anyway, so the motorway, it was perfect for purring along. In the twisties, you can bang it down the gears. The top spec ones come with a quick shifter, and then it feels like a street triple. It just feels like
works really well. I've tried a few quick shifters now, but I think that was the favourite, I think, of the quick shifters that I've tried.
And then they've made these changes to the crank, this T-plane crank, to extend the intervals between a couple of the ignitions of the cylinders, so that it feels a bit more twinny in the low revs, and it after riding both close together, it really does. So I just don't know if the other bikes have quite that versatility. But yeah, that I think is the deciding factor, because a lot of the tech, like IMUs, are becoming so common now. TFT dashes are common. I would say that on the Pro models of the Triumph, they're really, really well spec'd. So you get a lot of equipment like heated grips and handguards as standard. Heated seats don't exist, I don't think, as a standard, as a manufacturer option on any other bike. You might be able to find an aftermarket supplier that makes them for some of those other bikes, but it's quite rare that they will come as standard on a 13-gram bike. So yeah, if you want heated seats and a triple, that's it. It's the only logical choice.
Well, I like a warm bum and the rasp of a triple as you pull away. So
simultaneously, ideally.
Yeah. Yeah.